Okay, this example we're going to start looking at putting the images into our web page. Now, don't get too excited yet, as much as it's good to put the images into the pages. We're still only structuring pages at the moment, so again, it still won't look brilliant, but we've got to learn how to structure a page first before we can really think about how to make it look good. However, there's a couple of things worth pointing out when we're doing images. Now, I'm going to write a wee bit of code here that doesn't make sense, but bear with me. So I'm just going to put in a tag, and then I'm going to put in a attribute equals value, and then I'll say something. Okay, so essentially this is nonsense because there's no such tag as tag. There's no attribute called attribute, and well, there might be a value called value. It doesn't really matter. What I'm trying to show you here is that these tags here are individual tags, but what you'll notice is that occasionally, for example, when we were doing the hyperlink one, something.html, what we were doing is we were creating the tag with an attribute and then a value, right? And in here, that these attributes and values allow us to do extra things with tags. So that there is creating a hyperlink with an anchor tag, and the H reference is something. That teaches that page which we looked at. In here, what we're going to use in the next one is we're going to use images, and again it's the same format. The img is the tag, src means source, is the attribute, and the value is the file name, and that's castle.png, which I've put in. So I'm just going to comment this wee section here. I'll take that link out, I don't need that. So again, look at what I've done. There is the tag, there is the attribute, and there is the value. Okay. Now, if I save this as images, there we go, images, save it, and live preview it, and there you see we've got our image of the castle. Now obviously this is huge, so I'm going to show you in terms of understanding attributes, I'm going to show you a couple of wee things here. This is a picture of a castle, but what we want to do is we want to make web pages that are accessible. So in the case of this, if you had somebody who was partially sighted or used extra technology to see your website, what we need to do is give a description of the image. So we need to add another attribute with another value. So in here, what I'll do is another attribute, and it's alt, and what this means is alternative text. Now we need to use this for all our images, and we describe what is in there, and I'm going to say a picture of a Scottish castle. Now this won't be of any huge use to us at the moment in terms of what we see on the page. Okay, but say I was to break my link to the picture for some reason. Okay, I'll spell it wrongly. I'll go back into Chrome. You'll see that the image breaks. You'll probably have seen this on some web pages before, but what it's replaced with is a picture of a Scottish castle. So it puts in our alternative description. So what we've created here is that's how you put in an image. So image source equals, I'll just fix that, castle.png, and we'll come to PNG later on. This is a graphics format. So image source equals castle.png, and then we've got alt equals picture of a Scottish castle. So this is a tag. It's got two attributes, which is source and alt, and it's got two values, which are castle and picture of a Scottish castle. Now, in terms of changing the way the picture looks, I am going to show you this, but only for the purposes of attributes and values. Later on, when we start looking at CSS, we will use CSS to control how our page looks. But just for purposes of this example, I'm going to show you now. I'm just going to take a new line, but still inside the tag. Oops, try that again. There we go. So I'm still inside the image tag here. Alright. What I'm going to do is I'm going to type in width equals 50%. And again, there is another attribute and there is another value. Now if I save that, what you'll see now is that the picture resizes and it is always half of the window it's in. Okay. Now another thing I could do, I could change that from percentage to px. Save that. And now you've got a tiny wee picture which never changes because pixels is a fixed measurement here. Now again, I'm zoomed in at 100. That is at 100%, so that's 50 pixels. And no matter what we do here, you'll see that the picture size doesn't change. But as I change that to 25%, for example, save it, that's always going to be a quarter of the window width. And you see, as I make the window bigger, it's always 1, 2, 3, 4, 25%. That is an example of inserting images, and also a wee example of using attributes and values. Now in terms of this, you can use this to mess about with just now, and there are other attributes out there for images, but I don't want to show you too much because I'm essentially just going to show you something and then take it away again, because we'll use something called style sheets to make it look a wee bit better. Okay, but that is an example of how you put in an image and how you put in an attribute. Again, as before, you need to make sure that the image that we are looking for is in the same folder that we have saved our page. So if I get my folder structure up on my page, let me see, I go to web course, links and images. It only works because this is the page I'm creating and the castle picture is in there. Okay, now I'm just going to, if you've understood that for this point, that's great. I'm just going to show you something that we can do a wee bit different here, and I'm going to make a folder. So I'm going to go to new folder and I'm going to call it images. I'll call it pictures actually, because I've called the file images. Pictures. Okay, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to drag my castle picture into pictures. Okay, now if I now go and look at this, you'll see that the picture's gone, the link is broken. I'm just going to close some of these windows, too many open. So the link is now broken, because essentially what it's saying here is it's looking for the picture castle.png in that folder, but when it goes into that folder there is no image called castle.png. I will need to tell it to look in pictures. So the way I do that, if I've made this other folder, I want to say pictures, because that is the name of the folder, slash castle.png, and if I save that now, it should fix it. There you go, it's back again. So we always have to be very clear where we're telling the browser to look for the image, and that is how you insert images into a web page, and that's how you move them into folders as well. Now one wee thing, I could, if I wanted to, I could put in the same image again. Again, I'm just being lazy here. I'll take width off of this one. Okay. Just bring that back a wee bit. Okay. So now I'm going to have two pictures on my page. One is going to be big and the other is going to be small. There we go. And what you'll see is that there is no real layout to this, and again we'll look at layout when we're using style sheets. Okay, I would encourage you to mess about with putting images in, trying to put them in a different folder called pictures or images, and see how you get on with that. Again, when you're doing this, these lessons they're fine for showing you, but the real thing is to go and experiment and try things.